Hi everyone, I'm Jared from Reap What You Sow. Today I'm going to be going over how to make kombucha. But first, what is kombucha? Kombucha is a fermented tea that has been around for years, decades, and it has a lot of medicinal benefits from the tea. I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little bit. I was diagnosed with dysautonomia, and dysautonomia is failure of the autonomic nervous system. Well, I was having trouble with my digestion and bowels, TMI, but when I started drinking the kombucha, it has really helped my stomach. It was like when I would eat, I would get nauseated. I felt like my stomach was bloated, that I had overate. But now that since I'm drinking the kombucha, I don't have that problem anymore. So actually, I'm going backwards with the kombucha because I already have some made here. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go from bottling it up, and then I'll show you how to make the tea, because we have to have a cup of this as our starter for the next batch. The first thing you want to do is start out with clean hands, because the SCOBY that lives in here is a living organism of bacteria. So we're going to wash your hands, in which I've already done. And also, I like to wear gloves. That's just me. That's my pet peeve. I wear gloves. So I'm going to get on my gloves here. Okay, we're going to open up this kombucha. Can you see on top it's floating up here? That is the SCOBY that's floating on top of the kombucha right there. It looks like a thick mushroom like portobello. But no. So the first thing we're going to do to get started is we need to take a cup of this kombucha out for the starter. So I'm going to okay. So we got our starter tea, and then I'm going to remove the SCOBY from out of here. Don't you sink on me. And this is my SCOBY. It's thick, looks nice, and it's actually got another SCOBY growing. So when it gets a little bit bigger, I'll take this off and put it in what you call a SCOBY hotel and save it for another batch, or either get more than one going. So I'm going to put that in there. And so what you can do is you can strain this kombucha, because it has like yeast that's in here, because the kombucha, the tea ferments with yeast and sugar. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this kombucha and we're going to go ahead and fill these bottles. But I like to do a second fermentation on my kombucha, so I add a little bit of the peach mango in it. And so once we get it in this bottle, in here, then we'll cork this and leave it sitting for 2 days. That's how long I leave mine. You know, if you want it fermented a little bit more, that's up to you. You can do that. So I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to fill these bottles. And I don't strain mine because, you know, it don't bother me. So, I probably need something smaller. Todd, can you come help me with this? Oh, shoot. Okay. I didn't put my, whoops, I'm trying to go too fast. Let me put the mango in. I'm going to put probably about a little fourth of a cup in here. that in. So we're going to go ahead and cork that. And then I'm going to go ahead and do this one with the peach mango. Carbonated. So that's a little bit too full, so I'm going to have to take a little of that out. Give me set that ball back. I am making a mess. Tired of cleaning it up. How many of y'all believe that? Go ahead and cork it. I got it. And when you put these little corks on here and let it sit and ferment for a couple of days, this is like fizzy. It's like a Coke. It's like carbonated. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and stop right here. You get the idea of filling these up, and I'm going to go ahead and move on to showing you real quick how to make the kombucha. Let me get some paper towels here where I made a mess. I'm just going to lay this over, and I'll get back to finish doing the bottles and stuff. Okay, so we got a clean jar here. Make sure, and always use glass. No plastic or anything like that, glass. So what I have is the tea that I brewed. The tea that I used is either black tea or green tea, or you can get the mix. So I actually ordered me a kit to get started with the kombucha, and the kit came with a SCOBY, and it came with some tea and some sugar, because the sugar that you want to use in the kombucha is cane sugar. Don't use anything else, use the cane sugar. And the cane sugar is non-GMO. And if you don't know what the non-GMO is, that's genetically modified organism. Okay, so I went ahead to try to speed time up and made my tea. This right here, I just let it been seeping in this bowl right here. So I use the loose leaf tea. So it takes about, it calls for 2 tablespoons, but I always use a little bit more in my kombucha. About another half of a tablespoon to 2.5 to 3 tablespoons is what I normally use. So when you do this, and before you put that SCOBY, you need to make sure that your tea is cool, because this is an organism and you don't want to kill it by the water being too hot, the tea being too hot. So now I am going, thank God you're here, Todd. I'm going to strain this tea. And as far as when I make the tea, you make it normally like you would make your tea. It calls for a cup of sugar for 1 gallon of tea. I use a little bit more than a cup of sugar because I've never really been a tea drinker. So but when you do this, your tea doesn't smell. Listen to me. It doesn't taste like tea. It's going to take on the flavor of what you're flavoring it with. Okay, so now I've got this. So I'm going to go ahead and add me some water into this tea. If you live in a town and you have city water, I recommend using store-bought water, just water out of a bottle, distilled water. But because we have a well, so I have no chemicals added to my water, so I'm going to go ahead and use my well water. You want to leave room for the liquid that you've got over here. So I'm going to go ahead, put my hand in here, and just go ahead and stir this up. My gloves are clean. Okay, so now I'm going to reach over here and I'm going to get my SCOBY. So I'm just going to drop my SCOBY over into this kombucha. Now, it's okay if it sinks. That's perfectly fine. It'll come back up. I learned that. So once we got this in here, we're going to take a piece of cloth. It could be, you know, no cheesecloth. I use a piece of felt. And so I put it over the top because you don't want to put a lid because this has got to be able to breathe. There we go. So now that I have this in here, I'm going to put this in a warm, dark place. And I'm going to let it ferment. I usually ferment mine for 4 to 5 days, maybe 6. It just depends on if I'm extremely busy and got time to get back to it. But this right here, I store mine in the cabinet above my refrigerator because the refrigerator puts off heat and it sits up there and it's dark up in the cabinet, and that's how I do mine. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment below if you have any questions. And if you liked it, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and you can ring the little bell to be notified every time I post a new video. So before I go, I'm going to give you a sneak peek on what the next video I'll be posting. Now, me and Todd's going to do some with our gardening, but I'm going to give you a sneak peek of what I'm going to be doing. This is usnea. I gathered this and I've had it soaking in this oil since the 11th of this month. You can push up the process a little bit by putting it in like a crock pot and let it stay on the warm and it heats up. But I might do that in a little bit and try to push it up. But we're going to make a salve, and it's be good. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching.